The ocean doesn't play favorites. It doesn't care if you're a seasoned fisherman or a 10 or 12-year-old girl. One moment you're safe, the next you're fighting for your life. For that moment came without warning to the Chapman family. The boat was thrown into the air and then plunged into the deep alone with giants. This is Los Cabos, Mexico. Today, it's a playground for tourists. A miniature Las Vegas at the tip of the Baja Peninsula, where spring breakers party and celebrities hide in luxury villas. But 50 years ago, Cabo was a secret, a laid-back fishing village that only the adventurous discovered, and the Chapman family was among the first. For nearly 5 decades, they've been coming back. There's something about this place, where the Pacific Ocean collides with the Sea of Cortez. The region is known as the marlin capital of the world. The nutrient-rich waters attract everything massive game fish, dolphins, and whales. Every year, gray whales migrate over 12,000 miles from Alaska to the warm waters to feed, to birth, to breed. By April, the waters are thick with them. 40-foot giants, 40 tons each, moving just beneath the surface. Every year, the Chapmans made the trip south. They grew up in these waters. They knew the ocean, or so they thought. April 2nd, 1995 started like every other morning. Frank Chapman decided to take his 2 daughters, 12-year-old Casey and 10-year-old Emma, out on a panga boat. Just a few hours of fishing on the Cordo Bank. They'd be back by lunch. A panga boat, 20 to 24 feet long, high bow, narrow beam, built to ride on top of the waves, not through them. Simple, rugged. The workhorses of Baja fishermen. They hired a captain and a mate. Left around 6 in the morning. The plan was simple. Catch some bottom fish, enjoy the morning, and be back to the hacienda by 11. They had no way of knowing that in less than 3 hours, everything would change.
This was a family trip that we decided to take all 4 kids with us at the time, which we did, and they left quite early, about 6 a.m., with the intention of going fishing.
I was taking my 2 older daughters at the time, Casey and Emma. My daughter Ann, who's also older, was there, and she stayed back at the condo with Sharon and Hannah. And Emma and Casey and I rented a boat from an outfit called Victor. Victor had a fleet of boats at Pamias. They took us out fishing toward what's called the Gordo Bank, and there was a mate on board to handle the lines and the bait and get everything ready. We fished bottom fishing because I told them I like to catch fish I can eat as opposed to sport fish. I'm a meat fisherman.
We've gone to Cabo several times throughout my childhood. We always went fishing, and we always went on pangas, which is tiny little boats out into the ocean.
7 a.m. The panga cuts through glass-smooth water. Frank sits near the stern with Casey and Emma. The captain navigates toward deeper waters. It's one of those perfect mornings where everything feels right. For an hour, they fish, lines down, waiting for bottom fish to bite. But the real show is happening that morning. The whales are everywhere. Spouts in every direction. Tails flipping up before they dive. The girls are more interested in watching them than fishing. It's magical. They're performing just for the Chapman family. After an hour, Frank decides to move to new waters. Better fishing. The captain agrees. He points the bow northeast and pushes the throttle to full speed. The panga really flies now. It's riding on top of the water, skimming across the surface. The girls love it. The speed, the wind, the spray. Casey and Emma pass a can of Pringles back and forth. Frank sits behind with his girls, his hand resting on Emma's shoulder. The boat cuts across the water at top speed, 20 knots, maybe more. The bow lifts, the hull barely touching the surface. And then, in the span of a single heartbeat, they hit something hard. The whole boat stops dead, like hitting a concrete wall at full speed. Everyone is thrown backward.
And then we decided to move from one location to another. We've been seeing a lot of whale activity around. So we're 3 minutes into a full bore run. This boat was going as fast as it could go, wide open. And all of a sudden the boat banked really hard to the left and then stopped. When the boat stopped, I had my arm around daughter Emma, and she and I went back over onto the floor of the boat. And I hit my arm on one of the ribs. I thought I'd broken my damn arm. I was glad it was there though, because Emma's head would have been there. And I was starting to sort out what was going on, and Emma said, "Where's Casey?"
I can remember just fishing and then moving the boat, and all of a sudden Casey's out of the boat and Dad and I are in the back of the boat, like, because we got pushed back and Casey got pushed up and over. And then I remember a guy's face being really bloody. That was the captain's face. His nose like was purple and it was like kind of swollen.
And suddenly the boat banked to the left, which would have been the side that Emma and my dad were on, real hard. And then bam, the next thing I knew, I was in the water and I was on top of something. I scraped my hands and my face on what I had to have been a whale. I mean, there was nothing else out there. We had hit a pod of whales.
Frank looks up, and Casey is gone. 30 yards out in the open ocean, there she is. Casey, 12 years old, had been thrown completely out of the boat on impact. She's swimming with the whales. She remembers the flying part vividly. The Pringles can went with her.
Anyway, the whale had hit on the side that Carlos and I were on. It had hit the front of the boat, and he must have seen it just in, the split second. He tried to turn out of it and didn't make it. So when I flew out, I was obviously on top of a whale. I had hit the top of a whale and slid off. Like I said, I had scrapes on my hands and my face. And then I realized I was in the water and kind of looked around, and, obviously there was something shadowing the sun, and I looked up and there was a tail coming down. So when whale jump, they jump up like this, and then their tail's obviously the last thing to go down. I don't think it could have been the same whale that I landed on and then also the tail, but who knows. The tail didn't hit me, however, it did push me or pull me back under. And that was probably the scariest part for me, because it was the only part that I was really coherent or could see what was going on.
How far did you go into the
I don't know. All I know is that I did have to push pretty hard, and I had to swim pretty far up. And when I came up, my dad was just getting ready to jump in. I mean, I could see that he was just getting ready to. He'd go, "Oh my God, Casey!" And and so I swam back over to the boat. And when I got back onto the boat, I kind of did one of those like, "What the heck happened?" And when I did that, I dropped the can of Pringles that I had been holding and eating before the trip. And those, is it Banksy, the artist that does black and white photos, and then he does one color? And that red can of Pringles bobbing away in the ocean is probably one of the most vivid pictures I have in my mind of that whole day.
The impact had cracked the hull. They didn't realize it at first, but water's coming in, slowly, then faster. The panga's fiberglass hull never stood a chance. Frank looks down. The water is at their ankles, and he realizes they're going down. No life jackets. They're miles from shore, and the boat is sinking. Back at the family's hacienda, Sharon is waiting with Ann and Hannah. The family was supposed to be back by 11. 12 o'clock comes, then 1, then 2, then 3, then...
I remember very specifically that they were to arrive somewhere between 11 and 12. So we had spent that morning at the pool, my older daughter Ann and my youngest daughter Hannah. We didn't hear from them. About 1:30 or 2, something started talking to me. I know it was the element of fear. It was the devil talking to me that something has happened, something bad has happened. So I spent my time in this brief period, thinking of a mother's worst fear of your children or husband, were injured or dead or drowned, and waited for a phone call, waited for about an hour and a half. We received a phone call. This is what he said to me. They had a boat accident. Your daughter's very brave. It calmed me a little to know that they were alive, but at the same time, the element of fear is a weird thing because it can just consume you.
We assessed our situation. The front end of the boat that was full of water anyway was broken. There was a place where it was literally cracked, and the captain was unconscious on the floor, bleeding from his mouth. The mate was panicked. He had a plastic bag with a radio in it, and he was screaming, "Beekter, Beekter, Beekter," trying to get a hold of the fleet to let them know we'd had a problem. There was zero flotation on the boat. No throwables, no wearables, nothing. There was an empty red gas can, and I took that can and waved it in the air. I saw a fishing boat far off, and I whistled an SOS. Tweet, 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 tweet. I can whistle really loud. Oddly enough, they heard us and saw us and came over. The steering was broken, so we thought it best we get on this fishing yacht.
As it gets closer, the yacht is huge. White, gleaming, like something out of a movie. The yacht pulls alongside the sinking panga. Professional crew members appear at the rail. Lines are thrown. Within minutes, Frank, Casey, and Emma are pulled to safety. They're dripping wet, shaking, and these strangers just wrap them in blankets and bring them aboard. It's like stepping into a different world. They've gone from drowning to luxury.
So I got on there with Casey and Emma, and we drove away. Turns out the captain had a couple of broken ribs and I believe a collapsed lung from running into the console when we hit the whale. And the boat was probably damaged beyond repair. So we got on a fishing yacht. It had on the back of it, it said the producer. It was about a 60-foot Bertram yacht. Had a freezer on the deck, a big fighting chair, and they were slowly trolling their way around to La Paz. And they didn't turn around and take us back to Los Cabos. They kept going around, and they dropped us off at a place called Los Barrales. And it took about 10 hours for us to get out of there. Now, an interesting side part of this is that on that trip from where our wreck occurred, they got the girls on board. They radioed and let everybody know that everybody was okay. They heard the story from Casey about landing on the whale. And the message, I think, back to those of us that survived the wreck was that she was very brave. I think that's what the message was over all the Mexican radios, the fishing radios that day, because everybody heard about the wreck. These gentlemen on that boat had a stateroom with a giant TV, and in that stateroom they told Casey and Emma they'd like them to watch this movie. I think they're just trying to distract them from this disaster we just avoided. And they told them they'd like to get their feedback because the movie hadn't been released yet. It was going to be released in about 6 months. So the girls sat and watched what was called Jumanji.
April 2nd, 1995. The day the Chapman family hit a whale. The day Casey flew through the air. The day their boat nearly sank. The day Hollywood producers became their unlikely saviors. 30 years have passed. The girls are now adults, mothers themselves, but that day remains etched in their memories, and it taught them lessons they carry to this day.
When you're renting a boat in Mexico, always make sure they've got some flotation on board. You can survive a long time in that warm water if the sharks don't get you, but you need to have some flotation because it's not easy to tread water for hours at a time.
A really huge piece of my life, that knowing that I rely upon God, my reliance solely on God in times of fear is probably, it was just a great lesson to learn. That's probably the lesson that I got out of it the most.
Yes, so I think I learned definitely you have to trust whoever's driving the boat, and that anything can happen because it's not super common to get hit by a whale. It happens, but apparently it happens less than getting struck by lightning. And so things happen, and you have to be careful on who you trust to go fishing.
To stay positive and to not think that, your demise is coming just because your head is underwater, or just because you've been hit or, pulled back under by a whale tail, and also the kindness of the yacht owner, that, the fact that not many people would do that, I think, especially today, but down in Mexico, because down in South America and in Mexico, there are pirates still.
I guess on the positive side, I remember it as being kind of a entertaining tale, and Casey, is sort of, in our family, kind of a brave nature woman in the model of Mabel Morgan, our great-grandmother, and that was kind of one of the first examples of her kind of, prevailing against nature and, the natural environment, and she was 12, so.